There are thousands of ways to write high-quality blog posts. However, we created a process that works incredibly well. In fact, this is the fastest and best way we've found. Hi, my name is Jonathan Nunez. I am the CEO and the co-founder of the Marketing Project. We've created over 500 blog posts with this exact same process that I'm about to show you, so we know it works incredibly well. So in this video, we'll cover how to outline a blog post, how to research it, and how to write it fast with Rytr. But before we do that, we need to thank our sponsor, the Marketing Project. The Marketing Project is a digital marketing agency that specializes in Q&A marketing. So if you're interested in blogging for business, check us out. We offer services like keyword research, competitor analysis, content gaps, and full content writing services. If you're interested, the link's in the description. Alright, the first thing we need to do is to create a blog post outline. A blog post outline essentially works as a guide that aims to help us focus on the right information so we can create better content faster. For example, I'll focus on the keyword benefits of blogging for business. And this is a blog post we'll publish on our website, so you'll be able to see the final result at the end. Also, every time you create a new blog post, think about the purpose of that piece of content. This is very important because it will inform the outline you create, how you tackle the topic, and the overall writing of the blog post. So in my case, the purpose of the blog post we are going to create is to promote our blog writing services. So, all right, with that out of the way, let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is see what's already ranking. And this is so you can know what type of content you have to create and what you need to include in your blog post. So go to Google and search for your main keyword. Then open the first 3 top results in new tabs. And after that, you'll have to copy all the headings into a new document or notepad. I recommend using Ahrefs toolbar to save time. And once you install the extension, click the Ahrefs icon and then click copy headings. Once you have all the headings in a document, all you have to do is spot all the trends, find all the topics that repeat themselves across all blog posts, and remove duplicates. Those are the topics you should ideally include in your blog post. And next, add any information you believe is important to cover. Think of examples you want to include, like videos and any other media that may help you improve the clarity of your post. Okay, at this stage, you will have the skeleton of your blog post, right? But you still don't have the specific information you'll cover in each section. So that's what we'll do next. Head to Google and research each section. Look for statistics, look for videos, blog posts, and anything else you need to write your blog post. And these are going to be the resources you'll use to write your own post. After that, add instructions on how to tackle each section, the examples that should be provided, and everything you need. And as soon as you're done with that, you'll be able to start writing your blog post. But before we do that, we need to understand how to use Rytr and the difference between Rytr and other generative AI tools like ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is the type of generative AI that creates content based on a series of inputs. For example, you can tell ChatGPT to write a blog post introduction, keeping in mind your target audience and the angle you want it to take. That's actually something you can't do with Rytr, or at the very least not in the same way. Rytr is a type of generative AI that takes an input and expands on it, right? So in other words, you need to provide Rytr with the context of the content you want to create, so Rytr can then expand upon it. So Rytr basically acts more like a writing assistant. So with that in mind, here's how to write your blog post with Rytr. There are 3 main sections you have to create. The first one is the introduction. The second one is the main content, and the third one is the conclusion. So let's start with introduction. Start by selecting blog section writing on the use case, and then type introduction column plus the title of your blog post. Next, we need to add all the section keywords. So section keywords are the context you'll give Rytr to be able to write your introduction. I recommend typing sentences you would use in your introduction so Rytr can then organize them and expand upon them. For example, I'll use businesses often struggle with lead generation, but there are ways to effectively build assets that help them continuously attract new people, nurture them, get more leads, and ultimately make more sales. Then I will add a comma to separate ideas, and I will continue. In this blog post, we will share with you 8 benefits you'll see once you start blogging for business. So when you're done writing your input, select the number of variants and the creativity level Rytr should use. The number of variants is how many variations of the same text Rytr will create, and the creativity level is the freedom of accuracy Rytr will have to generate your content. So I always choose one variation and creativity level optimal. And this is so Rytr always sticks to the facts and doesn't go on inventing stuff I don't want in my blog posts. And lastly, click Write for Me. Rytr will then take your input and generate your introduction. After that, it's just a matter of reviewing the content generated and editing it to make sure it's something you would feel happy publishing on your website. Sometimes you don't have to make any changes, and other times you'll have to edit it a little bit. It's up to you. So once you're done with the introduction, create the main content. To do that, all you have to do is remove introduction from the section header and the title of the blog post. This time what you'll want to do is type the name of the section of the blog you're trying to create. In other words, the heading, right? So now something I have to mention is that the longer and the more descriptive the heading, the better the output. So take the time to write nice descriptive headings, and then in the section keywords are the context for the content you'll generate. And this is where all your research comes in and will help you create great copy. So let me show you 2 examples. The first example is when you're trying to come up with definitions and explaining how things work. And the second example is when you have data to work with. So let's jump on Rytr and let me show you how it works. Okay, we're on Rytr. You can see it here on the right. And then you have on the left the outline that I created, right? So basically all the research, all the instructions that we are going to need to be able to create our blog post. So like I mentioned, there are 2 different things that we need to do, right? We're going to look at definitions, right? Which is basically this section of the blog post. And then we are going to tackle a section that basically goes more in depth into data and research, right? So let's start with the first one. The first one here is what is business blogging, right? So that is the section, right? That is a heading. That is a section that we need to add here, section header or the topic. We are going to put it there, right? We're not going to use introduction or conclusion. This is the main body of the content, right? So normally if you were writing an introduction, it would be in introduction, column, and that's it, right? So that, let's say that this is the title of the blog post, and then this is just to delineate that that's the type of content that you have to create. In this case, we're not doing that, so we only have the section that we are trying to create. Then we have the section keywords, right? Section keywords is basically the context that we want to provide Rytr so they can expand upon it. In this particular case, I already did that, but I want to show you where that came from. So every single link here is one of the resources that I found that I'm going to use as the reference for creating my own piece of content. And this is not about just copying and taking content from other websites. This is taking reference and making sure that you give them your proper twist, right? That's basically what a journalist does. So you need to report upon it. So you open these links here. I already have them, and I have them here to be able to show you what you need to do. I highlighted this section here just so you know where this came from. So business blogs are blogs on a company website that your target audience might be interested in. So this is here, right? Business blogs are blogs on a company website written on topics that your target audience might be interested in. They are written to provide valuable information to a target audience and increase the company's visibility, right? So these blogs are meant to provide valuable information to a target audience and increase the company's visibility. It's very similar, right? But this is not going to be the end product, right? So ideally, don't just copy like word for word. Try to modify it a little bit so it uses the same words that you would use, and so Rytr actually knows what kind of context and what tone of voice it needs to use for your own content. So that's the first one, and then we have the next section, right? What is business blog? That's the next link, which we have here, and what are the benefits, right? So we actually have another section here on how it works. So if we look at my instruction here, I need to mention what business blog is, how it works, and provide some examples. So in this particular case, the examples are examples that I would provide myself, right, based on my own experience. That is something that Rytr ChatGPT is probably not going to be able to do because, again, this is your experience. It's unique to yourself. But it can actually help us with the definition and how it works. So that's what we have here and we have here. So this is something that I created myself based on the different headings here that they have, right? So they're saying, okay, define your target audience, select your niche, publish consistently, perform SEO. It's very basic stuff. So what I did was I focused on the general idea, right? So we have the way business blogging works is by identifying topics your target audience is interested in and creating content that is able to continuously attract new people, nurture them, and turn them into customers or clients, and eventually turn them into repeat customers. So that is the context I want to give Rytr so it can expand upon it. So let's go over this. The first section here, right, the first idea is business blogs are blogs on a company website that your target audience might be interested in. And then you have a dot. Now, what I want to do is I don't want to provide Rytr everything with the dot. I want to use commas. Now, if you remember, previously I mentioned that the comma is meant to separate two ideas, right? So idea number 1, comma, idea number 2, and then comma, idea number 3, etc., right? So that's what I'm going to do. I want Rytr to take the liberty to be able to expand upon that first section. So I'm adding in the comma there. If you don't want it to expand upon that, just add the dot, it's fine. And then we have the next section, right? These blogs are meant to provide valuable information to the target audience and increase the company visibility. Perfect. I don't want that dot there. I'm going to add a comma because we then continue with the next section. This is one complete idea, so I am just going to add it there. And after the comma, you don't necessarily have to add a space. You can do it. It's not absolutely necessary, but just for good form, add the space there. So now you have the complete content and the context. That's what we want. I always use one variation, right? That's actually what I mentioned before again. Variations is just the number of variations of the same text that Rytr is going to create for you. I always just focus on one. I don't want so much content that for the most part is basically the same, just a few things change. And then the creativity level, optimal, and then it goes all the way to max, which is less factual. If you say optimal, that means that it's not going to be adding too much fluff. It's not going to invent stuff. So for my particular case, where I want to focus on the facts, I just use optimal. If you're creating like stories and things like that, then you can go with max. You can have Rytr invent stuff, and maybe it could be beneficial to you. For me, it's not. So one variation and optimal. And then we click write for me. I'm going to move to the left here. And now we have the section here, right? So we have business blogging is a powerful strategy that can significantly impact your company's success. These blogs hosted on your website are designed to provide valuable information to your target audience and increase your organization's visibility. The key to effectively, in this particular case, this is not something I would write, at least not in that way. There's some information I would remove. So that's basically where you have to come in. You have to edit the content that you generated to make sure that it fully aligns with your tone of voice and that it's going to basically be something that you would write yourself and you would say. Again, Rytr, ChatGPT, and any other generative AI tool is meant to help you create content faster. It's not meant to create everything for you. So just edit this content and basically you're done, right? Then let's go over the next section. The next section is with data. So we are going to remove this. We are going to remove this because now we have a different section that we need to create. So the next section for me is the benefits of blogging for business, right? And specifically, we have an increase in website traffic. That is one of the benefits that you will see. So I want to create a section for that. I will copy this and I will paste it here, right? So that is the section header or the topic that I want to create, and then we need to provide it with the context. Let's look at my instructions. My instructions say, mention one of the benefits of business C when blogging is an increase in website traffic. However, it's not the sole fact of writing a blog post that will help them get more traffic, but the content promotion, the continuous attraction of backlinks. So this is part of the context that I want to give it, and I also want to give it some data I found, and here we have the sources, right? So let's go over this. So mention one of the so this is something that I want to copy. We need to edit some of the wording there. So remember, this is as if you were already writing the blog post. So we have one of the benefits businesses see when blogging is an increase in website traffic. However, it's not the sole fact of writing a blog post that will help you get more traffic, but the content, the promotion, and the continuous attraction of backlinks. Great. Then we add a comma. Because remember, that's idea number 1. We add a comma, we separate it, and we add idea number 2. Idea number 2 here is basically the data. So we have the source is, in this particular case, HubSpot. So we're going to say according to HubSpot, comma, and then I'm going to quote, right? Companies. So this is the general structure journalists follow every time they quote content, right? They add quotation marks and then they say it. Perfect. That's the first quote. We add a comma to separate it, right? We're going to have another quote. We add a space and say according to my next source is Ahrefs, right? So according to Ahrefs, we have a comma, and then we have the quotation marks. Whoops. We add it here. Perfect. We have 2. Maybe we can add a third one to see what kind of content it comes up with, comma, and then according to. We have 66% of bloggers for the content. And we say according to Orbit Media, and we give it the content. So that's it, right? So we have all of the context that we want, right? So in this case, you can actually add this one as well. It's up to you. Like, you can just add as much data, as much information as you need, so it can provide even better content. That is the section that I'm going to create. So I'm going to add Write for Me, and it's going to take all of that content and it's going to produce something for me, right? So every time it creates something new, it separates it with this little hyphen. And now it says, one of the key benefits businesses see when blogging is an increase in website traffic. However, it's not simply the fact of writing a blog post that will help you get more traffic. The content, the promotion, and continuous attraction of backlinks all play crucial roles. That's perfect, right? It basically took the content that I provided and then it just tweaked it a little bit to make it, easier to read and more succinct. Then, according to HubSpot, companies that blog get 55% more website visitors than businesses that don't. These statistics highlights the significant impact that a well-executed blogging strategy can have on driving traffic to your website. But the reality is that not all blog posts are created equal. As Ahrefs reports, 96.55% of the pages get no organic search from Google. No organic traffic from Google. That's actually great. You can actually see how good the content already is, right? And this is just based on all of the research that you did on your own, and it's coming up with really good content that you can actually use as it is. Don't just take it for granted, though. Always read everything and review it. Add media, edit content if necessary. But this is the idea, right? So that's how you take basically definitions that you have to create content, and how you take research to be able to come up with content fast. All right, once you're done creating your main content, all you have to do is create your conclusion. And to do that, all you have to do is type conclusion column plus the title of the blog post on the section header or topic. And then add the context just like you did on your introduction and the main content. I recommend typing a little bit of the key takeaways people should have and other important information. Then click Write for Me to generate your content. Alright, at this stage you'll have all the content you need for your blog post. So what you need to do now is review all the generated content. So read everything and remove content that doesn't make much sense so the reading flows properly. Add examples to expand on the content and make it more in-depth. Reorder content if necessary and add media to make it easier to read and understand. And once you finish reviewing your content, I recommend sending it to your content editor. At this stage, we're too close to spot issues we normally would. We basically become tunnel vision, and we can see some mistakes like grammar errors and simple ways to say things. Now, if you don't have a content editor on your team, or you work alone, then take a break. Just stop what you're doing and leave it for tomorrow or a couple of days, and then come back to review your post. That way, you'll see things with fresh eyes, and you'll be able to come up with ideas to improve your content. And lastly, publish your content. You worked hard to create your content and make it the best it can be. So grab a beer and celebrate with the team. Then go back and do it all over again. Look, creating blog posts isn't necessarily complicated, but writing great content requires a lot of research and preparation before you even begin writing. So if there's one key thing you took from this video, it should be that. It's essential to do proper research, which actually reminds me, we have a video where we show you how to write high quality blog posts fast, so watch it to speed up your research process.